Hey, happy Wednesday morning, everyone. It is just after 9 o'clock, so that means it is time for Ask Andrew, but I am in for Andrew right now. He is currently on a school visit, so taking over for him here this morning. So good morning and happy Wednesday. It has been a cool start to our Wednesday, that is for sure, and it's going to be a chilly lineup still for the rest of the week. As we get into the weekend, though, is when we're expected to see some rebounding temperatures. So it's actually gearing up to be a really nice kind of stretch here of weather. I'm enjoying the nice little seasonably cool temperatures we are seeing just because we've been getting all this warmth and we're heading into May and we know we're on the fast track to our summer months and we know that we're going to miss these kind of refreshing 60-degree days. So right now, temperatures, we're going to kind of get through a bit of the forecast for you. We're going to dive into some of the data here from the past couple of months, how April is shaped up, as well as diving into the official Ask Andrew question that is kind of diving into what happened on Monday when we had some pretty strong winds associated with some morning storms. But as we look at temperatures right now, we are at 51 degrees now. Feels like temperatures now climbing back to match the actual air temperature. We actually had a little bit of a wind chill out there. But you can also see on the Mississippi River, it's a little turbulent, so a little breeze for sure taking place with those winds coming in from the northwest. Regardless, though, all of this shaping up so far pretty nicely as we're getting mostly sunny skies, and that's helped us get to the 50s so far. 51 in Geneseo, 52 in Muscatine, 50 in Galesburg. As we take a look at live radar, we actually also did have a quick round of some light showers for areas this morning, but that also quickly dissipated and moved off to the east because of those northwest winds. That usually brings in a drier air mass. Although we could definitely see a little bit of cloud cover as we head throughout the afternoon. This is kind of look at live satellite. There's a lot of clear skies off to our north and west, though, so I am anticipating that we should see some pretty decent amounts of sunshine out there for today. We are going to continue to stay breezy, though, so like we've been saying, kind of fighting those northwest winds, that's going to keep those temperatures on the cooler side for us. So we are going to be in the low 60s for this afternoon. Our average highs are getting up there, getting more so up into the upper 60s. So that's why we're a little below normal right now. As we get into the afternoon, like we said, a little bit of a breeze that's going to continue. This disturbance, though, that is hugging through Wisconsin and into the Chicagoland area, I do think that's where it's going to stay for today. So I don't think we're going to see any more rain chances for the rest of the afternoon or evening. Tonight, we actually are going to clear out those clouds. And with clear conditions and still continuing slightly breezy conditions tonight, too, coming in from the northwest, it's going to be even chillier tonight. We're going to drop temperatures down to the upper 30s. Luckily, though, we don't have those calm conditions. If those winds weren't as breezy as we are expecting, then we actually would have the chance for some frostiness tomorrow morning, but that's not the case. Again, we got some movement with the atmosphere, so that's the good news there. And then tomorrow, pretty much a copy and paste day. It's going to be in the low 60s again. We're still going to see a nice mix of sun and clouds. Maybe a stray shower, but still looks like majority of it is hugging near the Chicagoland area. And then maybe a little bit more as we get into Thursday evening. But I think most are going to be in store for mainly dry conditions as we head through the rest of your week here. Here's a look at the wind gust tracker for today. So like we've been saying, it is going to be quite the breezy afternoon. We'll see gusts maybe get as high as 30 miles per hour for this afternoon and consistently staying in from the north. And that's why we're going to be on the cooler side. I want to take a look at wind climatology because if you've noticed that it's been pretty consistently breezy, you would be correct. April is one of our windiest months of the year, if not the windiest that we see. And you see those spikes in that wind climatology, mainly through the winter, but that's because we do see a lot of temperature differences across the entire United States where it stays a little nicer to us to the south, but we obviously get those really, really bitterly cold conditions. But for here, we really start to see those windy conditions ramp up during our transition seasons, so fall and of course spring, because we do start to see those bigger swing in temperatures here locally. So right now we're in the 60s. Expected to get to the 70s this weekend. So with those temperature swings, that's kind of why we see those upticks in the wind climatology here across the area. Here's a look at how April and the past couple of months have been shaping up, especially as we look at those temperatures. So January did start out on a cool note for us. We were nearly 2 degrees below normal, taking a look at the entire month as an average. But February, we started to get a little bit of some early spring signs. We were about 4.5 degrees above normal, and then March came in nearly 6 degrees above normal, and April is ending over 5 degrees above normal. And I know April's not done yet, but we only have a couple more days. Likely not going to see much movement to that average, but we do stay, again, below normal for the next couple of days, but I don't think that's going to bring that number down all too much. We've also been getting our fair share of lots of rain, and we know that for sure. Here locally in the Moline area, we are over 2 inches above normal for our average rainfall for the month of April. Now, I will say, though, the good news with this cooler pattern is we usually see calmer conditions, meaning we don't see as much widespread rain or heavy rain. We also usually don't see as much severe weather, so that's kind of our hope, is we can enjoy some calmer conditions here. But check out in your upper right-hand corner if you can see that this is stretching all the way out to May 9th. And it still looks like a cooler than normal pattern is trying to take shape at least over much of the Midwest, but if not, at least the eastern half of the United States. So this is also why we say planting season, or if you can hold off on planting most of your garden until Mother's Day, that's about when we see our average last frost. You know Craig Hegnite. Also a reminder, it is Wednesday, so we're going to have Craig Hegnite in here later on Good Morning Quad Cities at 11. But our average last frost date is in early May, kind of near that Mother's Day timeline. So we are going to be in this cold pattern, or this chillier than normal pattern, so that definitely means we could see signals to some pretty chilly overnight lows. So keep an eye on the forecast, especially if you do have any plants in the ground right now, in case you do need to cover them up or protect them a little bit more. Here's a look at the 8-day tracker as we head through the rest of your week. But by this weekend, we are going to look nice. Sunny skies, 64 degrees, 75 on Sunday. Partly cloudy conditions and dry skies through the entire weekend. It looks like an absolutely picture-perfect weekend. Really, I think it's a perfect 10 across the board. But then we get to Monday, and then we'll start to see those temperatures continue to hold on to the 70s. That does return some moisture chances, and we could squeeze out some isolated thunderstorms into the beginning of the week. Right now, though, we don't see signals to severe storms, but you know us, we are always keeping an eye out on that. But the 14-day tracker kind of keeps us in this pattern of going back and forth. We go down to the 60s again by this time next week, but then we could increase back into the 70s by the following weekend. But you can also notice that we're kind of few and far between with these rain chances, and that's just because we are seeing these cooler temperatures trickle into the 14-day tracker a little bit more, and again, offers maybe a little more of that quieter pattern. So, of course, I am always keeping an eye out on the comments in our Facebook live stream. You can ask questions there. Of course, anything weather-wise, I will do my best to answer it for you. But of course, the whole event over this is, or the entire thing about this is, Andrew asks or answers one of your questions every week on Monday, and we readdress it today. So the question this week was pertaining to what happened on Monday. What is a wake low, and why does it cause wind damage? So if you don't recall, we did see a lot of gusty winds after our system on Monday morning. Once that rain stopped, the winds immediately picked up pretty exceptionally. I was at home and I was actually noticing this. Not only that, I noticed that at least in my area, the wind was blowing from a different direction than it usually does. Usually and typically with our rain and our storms, we see that movement coming in from west to east. Well, I noticed that it was completely opposite. It was coming east to west. Well, that's because we had this little wake low. We're going to talk about what that is and what exactly happened. Oh no, I'm going to have to stop this because I forgot to add pause points in. Okay, so a wake low. So the first part of it is you have these strong thunderstorms producing downdrafts. Usually that is following with the heavy rain, and we saw lots of heavy rain. So you can get that to kind of grab onto some of the winds in the upper levels where the storm is forming, and it can bring down those rushes of wind and cool the surface down a lot more. Then we go to 2. The cool air spreads out and it stabilizes. So the cool outflow spreads out behind the storms, stabilizing the atmosphere and cutting off the supply of warm and moist air. So as the storms move away, it's kind of bringing in that cooler outflow closer to the surface. But what's happening is you want to pay attention to what's happening behind that storm. That cool air flows out and eventually kind of recycles back in. So we go to number 3. That warm air is cut off with the storms moved away, and the cool air at the surface prevents the warm, moist air from returning to the area behind the storms. So it kind of blocks a lot of that warm and moist air. Instead, we are seeing kind of a layer closer to the surface of this cooler, kind of drier air. But we know that it's the mixing of those changes, cool, dry, warm, and moist, that can cause quite a bit of activity, especially when it comes to winds in our area. So you go to 4, and what happens is a wake low develops. And the reason why it's called a wake low, I want you to think about this. A boat, when you're driving a boat, you have your wake behind the boat. That's kind of why it's called a wake low. This is in the wake of a storm or a storm system. So this is behind that storm. So that's why we saw this develop really quickly once the rain immediately moved out of the area. So behind the storm, air sinks as it cools and contracts. Surface pressure falls, forming a low pressure center, that's the wake low, in the wake of the system. So there you get that, where that comes from, the wake of the system. And then getting to this last part here, pressure difference creates strong winds. So you get this little area of low pressure, and it kind of creates that pressure drop. Well, usually behind a low pressure system, you have a high pressure system. So then that kind of interacts with each other a little more, and it can really intensify winds for a quick amount of time, exactly what we saw on Monday. And it can cause some pretty damaging winds with it. We saw gusts get up to around 50 to nearly 60 miles per hour. It did do enough to take down trees. I was one of the people who was in the area that was impacted by a tree taking power lines down. Knocked my power out for the entire day because the tree was so big. Crews had to get out there. It was blocking 16th Street. They had to cut the tree. Again, it took several hours for them to get that cleared and set the power back up. But I will say I was watching, because I was reporting that my power had just came out or went off, and I saw that the Illinois Quad Cities, only about 30 customers were out of power. But then I refreshed it, and it went up to like 1,000 people without power. So we saw a lot of trees kind of down. And again, a lot of this has to do with, at least for me, and in my area, the direction of those winds. Yeah, we usually get that westerly flow, but you might get that, other direction, might take down the integrity of a tree, kind of hit its weak spot where it's not usually being impacted. So that's why we saw a lot of trees quickly get taken down, because I will say a lot of people around the newsroom were surprised about how much damage was occurring, because they were like, I didn't really think the winds were that bad. Yeah, it was breezy, but not crazy. And it wasn't crazy, but still crazy enough to take down some trees with it. Okay, so like we have been saying, I am paying attention to the Facebook Live and looking at your comments. Feel free to chime in. We already have a couple of comments. We'll get through these, and then hopefully we'll give you guys a couple extra minutes for everyone to kind of go enjoy your Wednesday, and we'll have to get ready for our morning meeting here. Okay, so we have Riley, of course, chiming in. Good morning, Riley. Seth chiming in. How are you doing this morning? I'm doing good. He's flying out tomorrow from Des Moines to San Antonio. That's very nice. I'm sure it'll be some very nice weather in San Antonio, Texas. Probably a bit warmer than here because we have just been so cool. All right, Billy chiming in. Good morning, Billy. I have the Weatherfront app, and I noticed there's something called METAR on there. I was wondering if that's important to have on or it's just for aviation. Thank you for your time, and I hope everyone has a wonderful day. So METAR, that's definitely a meteorological kind of term. METAR has a lot to do with the actual readings from weather stations. So if you're a weather enthusiast, I think you could definitely have it on. It just kind of depends on, I'd say, where it's taking from, because we not only have surface analysis for METARs, but there are upper air analysis, and again, that's where you get the pilot information, because planes do have these instruments and can take that upper air data, or if not just that, we have balloon launches, which also takes that upper air data. But a lot of the METAR that you probably see on your weather apps, or if you do see it on a weather app, it's just quite literally a fancy word for saying this is the actual reading from an actual weather station locally. So I always have it on for my weather apps. I know that I have one. But yeah, I mean, it's important enough for if you want, more accurate readings from weather stations and what's actually happening close to you. All right, Riley is saying, oh, we got jokes today, of course, always chiming in with the jokes, and we love them. All right, what kind of ball doesn't bounce? I'm reading it, and I'm sure you guys are too, but if you're not reading it and you're joining us on the streaming app, it is a snowball, which is very true. It doesn't bounce. Instead, it either falls apart depending on the snow compacting or it hurts when it hits you, but all fun and games. Why did the woman go outdoors with her purse open? Because she expected some change in the weather. I actually really like that one. She expected some change in the weather, so she went out with her purse open, which is kind of probably what I've been doing. I've been wanting a little bit of a change in our forecast. We've been hot, we've been pretty humid, we've been getting lots of showers and thunderstorms, and I'm just kind of tired of it at this point. This is what I'm enjoying right now, is this nice little change up that we're getting where the forecast is cooling things down a little bit, keeping us nice and calm. So those are just a few comments that we've been getting. Again, thank you for joining us this morning. If you're just now chiming in and you missed a lot of this, we're going to have the replay available. We're also going to have the replay on our News 8 Plus streaming app, so you can always go and check it out there. But yeah, we got through everything pretty quickly this morning. And again, a lot of this is because we just didn't have much to discuss. We've been quiet this week, except for Monday, but still, at least our severe storms, we're kind of avoiding our area on Monday. But everyone have a fantastic Wednesday, and I hope you have a great rest of your week as well.